Hi, this presentation is on the mitral regurgitation for UGs. We know that there is a left atrium and left ventricle in between which is your mitral valve. So this is a mitral valve. When the left ventricle contracts, it pushes the blood out of it. So in order to prevent the blood from regurgitating back, the mitral valve closes tightly, preventing regurgitation. When there is a problem with this closure of mitral leaflets during left ventricle systole, because the left ventricle undergoes contraction. So when the left ventricle undergoes systole, when there is a problem in the mitral valve closure, it can result in regurgitation. This is called as mitral regurgitation. So we'll see about the etiology, that is the pathology that can cause mitral regurgitation. Before going into that, we'll have a look into the mitral valve apparatus. Mitral valve is composed of 5 structures. One is your leaflets. These are your leaflets, which are held in position by the annulus, that is ring. This is your annulus, and this is held in position by the chordae tendineae, which gets attached to the papillary muscle. This papillary muscle is attached to the myocardium. So these 5 constitutes the mitral valve apparatus. I'll tell you again. Mitral leaflets surrounded by an annulus, which is held in position by the chordae tendineae, which gets attached to the papillary muscle. There are 2 papillary muscle. One is posteromedial, another one is anterolateral, which is attached to the myocardium. So problem with any of these 5 structures can result in mitral regurgitation. In rheumatic heart disease, because it is the university exam question for UGS. In rheumatic heart disease, there is a problem in the mitral leaflet. The mitral leaflet is not able to close. So these are the anatomical basis for mitral regurgitation. We have seen that there are 2 papillary muscle. One is the posteromedial and another one is the anterolateral. This posteromedial has a single blood supply. That is why ischemia usually affects this posteromedial papillary muscle, which affects the posterior leaflet. When the anterior leaflet is involved, the murmur radiates to axilla. When the posterior leaflet is involved, the murmur radiates to the base of the heart. That's why the murmur of mitral regurgitation radiates to axilla in case of rheumatic heart disease. So these are the list of disease that can produce infective endocarditis, mitral regurgitation. It is classified into acute and chronic. Acute we will see in a separate class. On chronic, it is due to myxomatous valve degeneration, rheumatic fever, infective endocarditis, because infective endocarditis, your vegetation can go and sit over this and cause rupture of this chordae tendineae, and radiation can cause fibrosis and retraction of the valve leaflet, thereby leading to regurgitation. And secondary causes for mitral regurgitation as in the form of dilated cardiomyopathy and ischemic cardiomyopathy. If all these 4 structures are normal, but this part, the ventricle undergoes dilatation, it pulls the annulus, because the ventricle are attached here. It pulls the annulus outwards. Therefore, the leaflet cannot touch each other for closing, resulting in regurgitation. Dilated cardiomyopathy, what they say is, when the left ventricle cavity goes beyond 6 cm, there is chance of developing mitral regurgitation because of the annular dilatation. Primary versus secondary. So in primary mitral regurgitation, the leaflets and chordae tendineae are affected. Leaflets and chordae tendineae. Whereas in secondary mitral regurgitation, both the structures are normal. There will be problem either in the papillary muscle or the myocardium or annulus. We have seen what is mitral regurgitation. Suppose this is the left atrium and this is the left ventricle. With every contraction, some amount of blood goes backwards and some amount comes out. So during the next beat, this left atrium will be pushing both this blood, that is the blood received from the pulmonary vein and also the blood received from the left ventricle. So with successive beat, the amount of blood reaching left ventricle increases. So naturally the cardiac output also increases. When there is increase in the cardiac output, it indicates volume overload. Volume overload, the ventricle undergoes eccentric hypertrophy. So when the ventricle undergoes eccentric hypertrophy, it pulls the annulus apart, thereby leading to mitral regurgitation progression. This is termed as MR begets MR. Pathophysiology we have seen earlier. Remember, in mitral regurgitation, the ejection fraction will be supernormal. It will be more than 60%. When the ejection fraction goes below 60%, it indicates the patient has severe disease and it's an indication for surgery. That's a terminology called diastolic MR. That is, this is seen in case of acute AR. In acute AR, the blood gets regurgitated back into the left ventricle and goes to via the mitral valve apparatus into the left atrium. This is called as diastolic MR. And the common symptoms of mitral regurgitation are dyspnea, palpitation, fatigueness, and orthopnea due to left heart failure. Physical findings. First, there will be wide pulse pressure because of the increased cardiac output. Next, the apical impulse will be hyperdynamic. That is, the apical impulse will be occupying more than one intercostal space. S1 will be soft because S1 is produced by the closure of the mitral leaflet. If the mitral leaflet are unable to close, naturally your S1 will be soft. And you will get a pansystolic murmur. That is, the murmur will start from S1 and go up to S2. So this is your S1 and this is S2. Murmur will be heard throughout the systole. This is called as pansystolic murmur. The other condition where you will get pansystolic murmur is tricuspid regurgitation and VSD. MR, TR and VSD are the three conditions producing pansystolic murmur. And you can feel a systolic thrill at the apex. S4 you can hear in case of chronic MR and S4 you can hear in case of acute MR. This PSM, as I said before, will radiate to the axilla if the anterior leaflet is involved. Remember A and A. The anterior leaflet involvement causes the murmur to radiate to axilla, and posterior leaflet involvement, the murmur radiates to the base. The murmur will be cooing or seagull quality if the murmur is due to rupture of the chordae tendineae. And the murmur of MR gets intensified with hand grip. See how to measure the severity of the MR. When the patient has hyperdynamic apical impulse, it indicates the patient has severe MR. When there is a systolic thrill, the patient has severe MR. In the presence of S3, severe MR. And flow MDM. Someone from this batch kindly explain how we can get flow MDM in case of mitral regurgitation. And complications are, the patient can go in for atrial fibrillation because the left atrium dilates. When the left atrium dilates, it can precipitate atrial fibrillation. And infective endocarditis as with other rheumatic heart diseases. ECG will show P mitral. P wave is a single wave which will not exceed more than 2.5 millimeters. When the width is more than 2.5 millimeter and is also notched, giving a bifid appearance, and the width is more than 2.5 millimeter, it indicates P mitral. And patient can have left ventricular hypertrophy with volume overload presentation. Management, apart from treating the underlying cause like penicillin prophylaxis and treating ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy, AC inhibitors can be tried because AC inhibitors reduces the afterload. When the afterload is reduced, that is the pressure in the aorta is reduced, the left ventricular blood rather than going back will come forwards. This will reduce mitral regurgitation. And the indications for surgery are, as I said before, the left ventricular ejection fraction less than 60, the patient is deteriorating, hence the patient can be taken up for surgery. And one more indication for surgery is the left ventricle in systolic dimension, that is after contraction, if it is more than 45 millimeter dimension, it is an indication for surgery. Thank you.